Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called 12 Bullets, 13 Hours, written by Ceramic Boy. 0651. Hold the line. It was the only order I was ever given, and I was fine with that. With my friends by my side and my rifle in my arms, I was invincible. But when that day started, all I had was a pistol, 12 rounds, and no one to stop me. And the Horde was coming again. The tunnel systems beneath Petersburg were a twisting maze that spread out for miles. Years before, they served countless purposes. Some were old sewers, some used to hold trains, others were naturally formed caves. For us survivors, they were shelter. When the war first broke out, we all felt safe. It was far away and we were untouchable. Until we weren't. Petersburg was bombed day and night by the great planes from distant lands. Those who survived the first bombardment were forced underground, and we had been fortifying ever since. About a month after the first bomb dropped was when the enemy found the tunnels. The first unlucky bastard to die in that god-forsaken place. We knew they'd come looking, but all we could do was fortify and wait. Initially, it was just a squad or two per day. But as more men died, they started sending more, and more, and more. In the first few engagements, we had surprise on our side. But soon they were wary, and we started falling. Bit by bit, one man at a time, our ranks were thinned. 94 days after the first bombshell, and 61 days since the first death in the tunnels, we were low on everything. Men, morale, ammo. Food, even clean water, was getting scarce. So there I stood, the last defender of Petersburg, with a pistol and 12 bullets to my name. I sat in silence, listening to the dripping of water and the sloshing of enemies in the flooded tunnel up ahead, just around the corner. I watched the light of their flashlights glimmer off the surface of the rippling water. I took in every last detail. Then I watched the first man round the corner. Bang! The first man dropped, screaming. He thrashed about in the water, before his allies grabbed a hold of him and dragged him back around the corner. I only winged him, but a hit into the shoulder is nothing to balk at. Not a word was spoken that I can hear, but much shuffling ensues. Some sloshing footsteps retreat, no doubt to get more men and drag away the wounded one. 0710. After an eternity of silence, I see half an arm and hear something plink into the water before me. I duck behind an old highway median we dragged down here and start counting. 1, 2, blam! Not a dummy grenade. The tunnel shakes with a violent force, and small bits of concrete rain down from the ceiling for a second, but it holds. Picking my head up, I see 3 men moving forward, guns trained at me. Da-da-dut, da-da-dut, da-da-dut. The first burst took my helmet completely off, breaking the strap. The other 2 went high and wide. I filed back down into the muddy sludge, my head hurting and my ears ringing. But I'm not dead. The man on point leans over the barrier to confirm his kill, and when he does, bang! I fire another round. It grazes his neck and instinctively reaches up and grabs the wound. Bang, bang! I fire 2 more rounds into his faceplate, and it cracks. He goes limp, halfway over the barrier. Coming back up to a crouch, I fire over my cover. Bang, bang, bang! The second man takes 2 center of mass, but my third shot missed. His plates do their job and keeps him moving. Coming to a full stand, I'm ready to keep firing, but the third man's rifle opens up. Da-da-da-da-da! 3 rounds tear through my left armpit. My own shot goes wide and lodges itself in concrete. My head is throbbing by now, and a trickle of blood is beginning to make its way down my face. I dive back down as more rounds are fired over my head. Dropping the spent magazine from my gun, I start running options through my head. As I slam on a new one home, an idea hits me. I drag the point man the rest of the way over the barrier, then grab the handle of the back of his vest and ignored the searing pain in my wound. I hold the man up like an improvised shield. He's hit with a hail of fire, but nothing goes through hits me. Firing my last 4 bullets, I drop 2 of them. The very second the last man falls, I drop my shield, and my muscles thank me. Not giving myself time to rest, I begin scavenging gear. There's no more ammunition for my pistol, though. I wasn't really expecting to find any. I do find a few magazines for their carbines, though. I head back to grab my helmet when I see the massive dent in it. It would have been better to leave it, but I tied one of the broken straps onto my belt at the hip because it was the least I owed Grandpa. Picking up one of the carbines and stashing the ammunition somewhere close, I pressed the alarm button on my two-way radio and returned to my watch. They would be starting an evacuation now, but they would need as much time as I could buy. 07:37. Time passed. My clothes were soaked through. I could feel every cold breeze, and I could taste the blood in the air. But I embraced these sensations. I embraced them because they told me that I was still alive. They told me that the hits I took earlier didn't hit an artery. And most importantly, they gave me distraction from the endless wait, made all the more lengthy by the stress and fading adrenaline. 08:24. Those tunnels were long and winding, but I knew they'd be back eventually. I just didn't expect so many to try and pour into that tiny-ass passage. My stolen rifle barked as the next man tried to peek the corner. If they didn't keep dragging them away, the tunnel would have been impassable for all the wounded and dead. By my own reckoning, I'd already taken down 20 men and wounded at least a dozen more. 08:26. I was starting to run low on ammunition again. Just as I started to think of getting some more off a corpse, my gun went to a click and made the decision for me. I dropped the rifle and vaulted over the cracking barrier that I'd been hiding behind. I sprinted forward and grabbed the first weapon I saw, then sprinted back as fast as my legs would carry me. In the last few seconds, just as I slid behind cover, I heard a few shots reverberate through the chamber. Far too close. Looking down, I inspected my new weapon. Shotgun, pump action, 12 gauge from the looks of it. Then I heard a splash. I popped up out of cover and fired for the new target. The shotgun kicked like a mule, definitely firing slugs. I was almost thankful that I didn't grab more rounds for it. Almost. 09:14. After a few more trips like that, I had a verifiable armory of weapons sitting behind me. My arm was starting to get stiff. My wounds were definitely going to get infected by the disgusting water, but I doubted that'd be what would kill me. The medium has practically disintegrated from all the fire it saved me from, and I was going to have to pull back soon. A shotgun blast reverberated through the tunnel again, and a slug punched through a barrier a foot to my left. I had to pull back right then. I stood and sprinted as hard as I could, but my foot got stuck on the muck. I fell face first back into the mud just as the shot whizzed through the empty air I was occupying. I managed to crawl the rest of the way to another corner, but I'm pretty sure I sprained my ankle. It hurt like a bitch, but I hadn't gotten a signal yet. I needed to keep fighting. 09:42. The bodies just kept piling up. They stopped bothering to even drag them away after the first hour. I managed to get a pretty good position where my wounds don't bother me too much, but I knew that they'd force me out eventually. 11:14. It felt like the harder I fought them, the more showed up, but I could never let up, lest the onslaught would overwhelm me. At one point, in my second position, one of the fuckers managed to sneak up on me while I was trying to figure out how to reload one of their weirder guns. He came around the corner with a shotgun, but I was so covered in dirt and mud and debris that he thought that I'd pulled back before I snagged a knife off his belt and drove it through his back. Immediately after, they really started moving forward in mass. They quit after the first couple of blasts. 20:02. It was the same damn rhythm for I don't know how long before something changed. They started getting desperate, pushing forward on an hourly determination. I drilled so many of them down, but they just kept pushing. Eventually, they overran me, but they just kept running. They didn't even bother trying to put me down. That's when I saw them. Special forces, allied special forces. They saw all the bodies and all the scatterguns and knew something went down. Most of them moved ahead, but a small squad started looking for survivors to find out what happened. They found me, eventually, but it took forever to explain to them that I was not one of the invaders. I was weak, tired, and beginning to feel my wounds. After about the third time I tried to say friendly, I blacked out. Then I woke up here. Account of Vincent J. Ackerson 2 days after first regaining consciousness at Merrill T. Willem Hospital. Epilogue. Vincent J. Ackerson held the entry tunnel to the Petersburg Underground for a total of 13 hours. Though he claimed to have killed thousands, the official tally is 156 killed and approximately 43 wounded. In the course of his defense, Ackerson sustained severe concussion, 12 gunshot wounds to various body parts, a torn Achilles tendon, and a sore trigger finger. The remaining 12 survivors of the Petersburg Underground all successfully escaped. After making a 12-mile journey beneath the earth in the dark, cramped tunnels, they came to the Blackmore Forest 3 hours after the first warning signal was delivered by Ackerson. Their all-clear signal would never reach Ackerson, but it had reached the Allied forces who were moving upon the city in order to recapture it. Special forces sweeping the underground for a remaining enemy presence eventually ran across the estimated 150-man-strong group assaulting Ackerson's choke point. The units present later recalled the scene as an utter massacre of the highest proportions. Ackerson was regarded as a national hero and would later be subject to countless novels and films starring the hero of Petersburg. But the long-term effects of Ackerson's injuries led to him never leaving the hospital for more than a month. Ackerson died 2 years after the battle due to complications of surgery. End of story. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Caspar Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.